You may have heard, as I said earlier, the news about the emergence of another potential pandemic. And Dieter has offered to tell us all about this. So Dieter, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. And hello to everybody who is online. And can I have the next slide? So I just would like to make some clarification in terms of definitions used, because last time people mix up a lot of that. And I think there's one term which is used, it's endemic. This is an infection within a population when that infection is constantly maintained in a geographic area without external inputs. An example is East Coast fever in East Africa, Rift Valley fever, or malaria in Africa. Malaria is endemic in Africa, as people say. And an endemic can easily become an outbreak if there is a sudden increase in occurrences of a disease in a particular time and place. And then we have epidemic. It's a disease that affects a large number of people or even animals within a community, population, or a region within a short period of time. And an epidemic could become a pandemic. This is an epidemic that spread over multiple countries or continents or worldwide, as we have currently with COVID-19. And easy to differentiate between epidemic and pandemic is the P in pandemic, because the P, remember, the P means the passport. And this just clarifies that a pandemic is an epidemic that travels. So that's where, but pan comes from Greek and means all and all over. So that's the pandemic. And for us in animal diseases working, there's a panzootic. It's a disease because pandemic is mainly used for human diseases. So we have panzootic. It's a disease that occurs in a widespread outbreak among a large number of animals, usually affecting more than one species. So foot and mouth disease is a classical example for that. Now I would like next slide to talk about the new flu virus. And in the midst of COVID-19, the last thing we need is another pandemic. But scientists in China are now warning that they have identified a new flu virus in pigs that could possibly cause a future flu pandemic. So we all, or not all, but many of you remember 2009, when there was H1N1 spread around the world, killing about up to 500,000 people. And you may have seen in Jimmy's slides at the beginning, this is the fatality rate we have currently with COVID. And it infected 1.4 billion people. H1N1 is a genetic mix of the H1N1 swine flu and other viruses, the new one. So the H stands for hemagglutinin. So it's a mutation of hemagglutinin, and that affects the ability of the virus to infect cells. And mutation of a neuraminidase that enables the release of the replied virus from cells. So these are subtypes of influenza A, and you know we have others in poultry, and there's a lot of these H and N differentiations available. So actually the new virus is not really new. So the scientists in China, there were actually in 10 provinces were looking of flu virus in pigs. They took nasal swabs in slaughterhouses, and about 30,000 nasal swabs they found between 2011 and 2018. And they found nearly 180 different strains of flu virus infecting pigs. Most of them were not circulating for a long time and disappeared. With one exception, this is the new one, the G4, a new reassorted H1N1 strain. And the publication came out just last week. in the 29th of June. But the paper was submitted in early December. That means weeks before the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan began, making global headlines. You see, most likely without COVID, this publication would not have this effect as it has today. So, and as the authors say, it has all the essential hallmarks of a candidate pandemic virus because it can bind to human type receptors. And it shows efficient infectivity and aerosol transmission in ferrets. Ferrets is the classical animal model for doing these studies. And the difference to coronavirus, you see, is an aerosol transmission. Coronavirus, we have a droplet transmission. So aerosols are mini droplets, but that means the infection possibility is much higher with these aerosols. The next slide, please. So why is this a pandemic potential? As I said, it binds to human type receptors and it replicates efficiently in human airways. It has a low antigenic cross-reactivity of human influenza vaccine strains. You know that in human medicine, live vaccines, always a new combination every year is produced to have a seasonal vaccine. And this seasonal vaccine would not protect against this new virus. Pre-existing population immunity does not provide protection. So even if you have a natural infection with other influenza viruses, this will not protect you. The serological surveillance among occupational exposure of human population showed that 10.4% of swine workers were positive for this new virus. And they took, but one has to see, they took only 338 blood samples from workers on 15 pig farms and 230 from people in nearby households. So the 10.4% is for workers in pig farms, and for people in nearby household, the infection rate was only 4.4%. But interestingly, the younger people have a much higher rate. So the rate is over 20%. In this publication, it shows that indicates that the G4H1N1 virus has acquired increased human infectivity, but the infected people had no disease, one has to say. But it could change without warning. The virus could mutate, and the influenza virus do this much quicker than coronavirus doing that. Such infectivity greatly enhances the opportunity for virus adaptation in humans, and this raises the concern for the possible generation of pandemic virus. So there is a potential to spread from human to human, but there is no evidence yet that G4 could spread from person to person. So it's still just a pig to human infection. And keep in mind, no disease up to now in infected people. The predicting risk, we all know, is not a precise science, but close attention to the virus would be advisable. So as they also say, it's not an immediate health threat, but controlling the virus in pig population and monitoring for signs of it in humans is necessary. And you know, we have for pig for vaccinations, influenza vaccinations for pigs, we have quite a number, very good ones, trivalent, bivalent, monovalent ones, and they're all inactivated vaccines, which are used, and that makes them much more stable. They use an adjuvant, and you have heard Wish saying about the adjuvants. So it would be the right thing now would be to use the influenza vaccines available for pigs worldwide in a way to control this type of disease. As it's clear, it's not an immediate health threat. It's not really a new virus, but one needs to monitor the situation. Thank you.